what do you do when you fall off? How do you know when to get back on?
Through the years, the interesting thing is that when I was doing higher level jumping, I never fell off.
Really what I've come to the conclusion of is that it's the bystanders' fear rising up in them of how am I going to help this person? I'm inadequate now. If they can't move through this situation, what is my part in this? We're here today with Shay, who is a fellow rider who has been through numerous situations with her own horse and other horses where there has been an incident of fear, let's call it that. She's going to describe her story to you. So Shay, thank you for being here and being willing to be vulnerable with us. Will you go ahead and just tell us, when did fear become part of your riding journey?
Well, I certainly had lots of experience with falling off, being tossed off through the years. The interesting thing is that when I was doing higher level jumping, I never fell off.
Oh.
It was usually at times that I wouldn't have expected for something like that to happen. So that was always interesting to me. But it wasn't until I had been gone from riding for more than 30 years that I really had a very, very bad experience and a rough accident. And had always thought that riding on the trails would be the safest, easiest way to ride. And that is the accident that put me in the hospital. So I was riding a friend's horse, and she was also the trainer at the time. And my gut told me not to get on this horse, and I did it anyway, and learned a hard lesson. And it was after that I started to really wrestle with the fear of, do I even want to get back on a horse?
Yeah.
And what will that feel like? I thought about, where did I want to have this first ride again? And it wasn't at the barn where I had had the accident. So even though I was working there, and I was still working on the ground with horses, I just wasn't quite convinced that I should be riding there anymore.
Gotcha.
And in the meantime, I had been watching Callie's videos online for really about a year. And I thought, I wonder if I could just go there. Are they close enough? I had no idea for sure how far away they were from where I live in York County, Pennsylvania. And so I did make the call and found out that Callie wasn't there anymore, but that Caitlin was, and would I want to talk with Caitlin, and I did. And I expressed to her that I was an older rider to begin with, and now I had the added baggage of being afraid to get on a horse again. I asked Caitlin if she would be willing to lead me around as though, you know, I was at a carnival or something on a pony as a child.
Yeah.
And I said, I know that just sounds ludicrous, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know how I'm going to respond. And
Yeah.
I want that feeling of safety and just going back to being a child. So she was very willing to do it. I also asked her to put me on the smallest horse she had. I did not want to be on a large animal, and so she did. She led me around the indoor arena, and that was my first experience getting back on after the accident.
Which I'm going to interrupt you there for a minute to say that was a brilliant decision on your part. And one of the things like I cover in the curriculum is, what do you do when you fall off? How do you know when to get back on? And in your case, your accident prevented you from that immediate decision. But even for somebody who falls off in a lesson and they're not hurt, you know, they do the assessment, their body is fine, there's nothing broken that they're aware of, right? And I know you have another experience with this of getting back on, but asking the trainer, treat me like a child and take me on a pony ride, because then your body can just settle into the tack.
Yes.
And the safety and the security that comes from the other individual creates the safety for your mind and your body to just be, and that's the beginning of recovery.
Well, I even asked Caitlin to do all of the grooming and tacking and just let me watch.
Yeah.
I wasn't even willing to do that at that point. And
Yeah.
that had never happened before.
No.
But I just felt so convinced that that is what I needed to do. And in the past, I had always been told by other trainers, get right back on. And I did. I always got right back on. And that was, so very different for me to approach it that way.
Yeah.
But it worked. It just worked.
I want to go to that belief that trainers have, that the whole industry has, that parents have. Get back on the horse. I mean, we use that expression even in life obstacles. Like,
Yes,
get back
we
in
do.
there. Come on, you can do it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And really what I've come to the conclusion of is that it's the bystanders' fear rising up in them of how am I going to help this person? I'm inadequate now. If they can't move through this situation, what is my part in this? And it's the uncomfortability of the bystanders who cannot tolerate the seeing somebody else in pain. And right? Like, we don't like watching other people in pain. As parents, we don't. As partners, we don't. As teachers, we don't. Who wants to go home from a lesson and feel like the floor is a significance of failure? You hit the footing and therefore you failed. That's how we see it. Rather than saying, okay, this was an experience. Are we in a good frame of mind to keep learning? And if we are in a good frame of mind to keep learning, what is that like? So there are some times, and I've seen it happen in lessons, where the student is ready to get back on, and should, because they're choosing that, right? But there are other times where, even if there's not that big injury, the body is too dysregulated to put that in the tack. It's not even fair to the horse, actually, when you think about it. Because in that moment, whatever led to the accident also wasn't just a single participant in it. It's not just the rider who hit the
Exactly.
ground. What was going on in the horse in that moment, too, that
Yes.
led to that situation? I mean, unless it was just a big trot and the person was unbalanced and fell off, which can happen. But looking at the whole context, and I say, what's going on with yourself? What's going on with the horse? What's going on in the environment, and what's going on between us? From the minute you pull into the barn to the time you leave and every encounter with them. And in the case of a fall, that is a great thing to put into play. Okay, where am I at? Where's this horse at? Where are we at together, and then with our trainer, and where are we at in the environment in order to decide what to do next?